start this bulletin tonight. Now, President William Ruto has called on African countries to pull their efforts together and ensure the operations of the African Union are not funded by European nations. Now, speaking during the African Union 5th Media Summit, Ruto also called for a fair and just financial system to African countries. Ian Keitani now reports.
Gigiri, Nairobi. African heads of state and regional leaders, led by the chairperson of the African Union, Musa Faki Mahamat, convened for the African Union 5th Media Meeting to deliberate on mechanisms to boost cooperation among West African countries. Speaking during the meeting, President William Ruto decried African Union running its operations from donor fundings, insisting that it is time African countries pull together to fully operationalize the African Union.
At the moment, over 60% of our program's budget is financed by partners. The demands of our challenging time require an AU that can pursue multiple urgent and critical interventions using internally mobilized resources. Chronic dependence, even on well-meaning partners, is starkly inconsistent with the aspiration of independence, sovereignty, and agency. We must take seriously the recommendations that have been made towards making our organization an organization that stands on its feet.
Ruto also noted that the African Continental Free Trade Area was crucial to boosting the country's economic status, urging the respective heads of states to ensure the initiative materializes.
The most compelling signal that African integration is unstoppable and that it will open doors for unprecedented socio-economic transformation is the progress we have made in implementing the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. We must all be proud of this magnificent project, an historic achievement by and for ourselves, whose positive effects will reverberate throughout the world for a long time to come. 54 countries have agreed to create a single market with a population of 1.4 billion people and a GDP of US dollars 3.4 trillion. The free trade area is projected to lift 30 million people out of extreme poverty.
With most African countries dependent on loans from developed nations, Ruto called for new financial systems that is fair to African countries.
We must have a collective position on matters to do with debt and liquidity. We must all agree that it is time for a new financing mechanism. The reform of the multilateral development banks is no longer about if, it is when that is going to happen, so that we can eliminate the current structure that is unfair to the majority of the people in Global South and especially in our African continent.
African Union chairperson Faki Mahamat lamented that political instability was standing in the way of Africa's development, calling on leaders to fix the mess in their backyards.
Peace and security in Africa and in the world, in fact, is a major source of concern for us. We have, in particular, strengthened the leadership that is for the Libyan issue under the leadership of President Sassou Nguesso of the Republic of the Congo, try to convene a national reconciliation conference in order to bring the Libyans together.
Ian Keitani, Look Up TV.